You guys have got this company,
Mhm.
Bijou Sweatbox, and why did you start it up? Like, what was the motivation behind getting this thing off the ground?
So, I've been running Bijou for about a year now. I was doing some artist management and events, but I've always kind of wanted to have a media website as part of it, because it's kind of running more of a brand rather than just one entity. So basically, I don't know, me and Laurie have just got really kind of similar interests and we work really well together, so we thought we might as well merge what we were doing to try and make a kind of bigger product, like rather than kind of competing with each other and having less content. We want to make something that kind of covers a lot more. And
Yeah, because like I started Sweatbox just like kind of at the end of last year, and it was meant to be something that was just covering kind of like nightclubs just in general and the nightclub scene and the nightclub culture in Glasgow. And but I was running into a lot of problems, and then like trying to work it out. I was kind of pushed in the direction of doing like maybe like a blog or a website or something that had like reviews and stuff, which was like what Fiona was doing, and it was going to get to the point where I was going to end up messaging Fiona like, "Are you covering this?" And she'd be like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh well, I was going to cover that," and we didn't want that to be, a thing. So we're like, we might as well merge it together because at the end of the day, we both have really similar interests, but as a whole, like our strengths are each other's weaknesses and vice versa, you know what I mean? So it was always going to be a case of if we put it together, it's just going to make it even better than what we had separately, because then it would end up competing with each other and it would just end up being a total mess.
Yeah, because this way you can cover like more content and stuff like that.
Yeah, because like I was initially just going to do like videoing and stuff, but now we can open it up to like doing like mixed series and like reviews and interviews and just photos and just like loads of things like that you can just like collate on a website that like are really kind of I don't know the word, interesting for like a variety of people, like so I feel like you're not like, you know, that way where you'll be like on Vice or something, you're like scrolling down, you're like, I really can't be bothered reading this, and then they've got like a video at the top, so I might as well just read it, like watch the video. So it'll be like kind of like that. So it's like, oh, we went to this like festival, oh, that festival actually sounds really cool, but I just want to look at the photos, you know what I mean? So it would just kind of be like loads of like things collated together to make sure that it covers like everybody's interests.
It's going to be kind of focused on more kind of media side as well, rather than just being lots of text. Like,
that's always good, because no one really wants to sit and like the train or something and read like an absolute
power an interview.
Is it going to be mainly focused on kind of like club scenes and stuff like that? Are you going to do like branch out a wee bit, or
not necessarily? It's going to be kind of on just general like underground music, arts and culture. So
cool.
For the first few months it's going to be quite like Glasgow heavy, but it's going to be a bit wider as well. Like we've got writers in Berlin that are working for us as well, so we're just kind of, at the moment it's going to be very kind of Glasgow heavy, so it's kind of easier for us to talk a lot about the club scene here until we kind of build up more writers to cover stuff in different places as well.
Cool.
So it's going to cover mostly music, but just kind of general underground culture and stuff that like you kind of, everyone's got that one thing that they'd like to sit and read about, but there's nowhere that's really covering stuff because it's just a bit weird and it's not the norm. So just somewhere for like all that to kind of be collated as like getting content out there.
Because you've got like websites that cover like certain genres of music and certain like types of music, but you don't really have anything that opens up this kind of underground scene that Glasgow's got and has been thriving for a lot longer than some of these genres have been in Glasgow. And like this kind of culture has been there for over 30 years and nothing's ever actually, like, everybody's aware of it but no one's really talking about it.
You've not got a place to go to find out about it.
Like you've not really got like, no one's really discussing like the history of this kind of underground culture in one certain place. Like you'll have like articles here and there, like in Vice and like Resident Advisor and stuff like that. Like they'll do like wee kind of snippets of like, oh, like the best clubs in Glasgow, and then that's it. But you're not gonna have like one place where you can go that goes, what's going on in Glasgow right now. like sometimes you have to go to like certain venues, Facebook pages, and be like, what's going on like in SWG3 in the next couple of weeks, and like you have to go to that specific venue, but there's not really any places that tell you like what's happening outside of that as well. So it's going to be a place where people can go to just like kind of involve themselves in this kind of culture that's really
like a central hub.
Like basically like a central hub for this kind of culture that's not as investigated at the moment. You know what I mean? So
I think as well, like with kind of more of the other websites, like, and like rightly so, it isn't usually like sub-club that will be getting mentioned, and there's like, it's fairly easy to go and like read about stuff like there, but there's a lot of other like really good venues in Glasgow that are really good, like smaller nights that have been kicking off and have been running for a good couple of years, but because what does get mentioned in Glasgow, like Rub-a-Dub and Slam and like Soma and Subway, like are also big, that a lot of the smaller nights which are actually doing really good and making a real impact in the city don't really get the coverage because it is the main big things that come out of Glasgow that are focused on.
But in saying that though, like the things that Subway and Soma and Slam and everybody are doing, like even those things aren't covered to the extent that
enough, really.
that we would like them to be. Like Daft Punk Unchained was just released, and it was just a kind of documentary following where Daft Punk originated, and they obviously are from France, but their first record label was Soma in Glasgow, and their first tour started in the Arches in Glasgow, and no one knows these things. And why don't they know these things? Like, that's such a cool thing. And I was seeing people like sharing it on Facebook being like, oh, I didn't know that like Soma released Daft Punk's first like single and track, and I was just like, how could you not know that? But it's just because these things aren't discussed as much as like things at the Barrowlands or things like at the O2 or like all these kind of venues where it's like bands and artists and like gigs, whereas like with nights and stuff, like they're not really covered to the extent that we think personally that they should be. And although Soma's so massive across the world and that kind of culture, like we just want everybody to kind of know that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of the same with like Walking Skank and Mungo's Hi-Fi.
Yeah, like, Scotch Bonnet.
Like in Glasgow, like you can go down like every Thursday, like so cheap, and some nights it's not really that busy, but when I've been at festivals abroad, there's like people from all over the world like running to make sure they're at like the Mungo's Hi-Fi stage at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And there's just a lot of things in Glasgow that seem to be like
taken for granted
quite a lot, like other places, but because it's just on your doorstep. And I think maybe as well, like growing up around Glasgow, like it was always kind of like, oh, this is quite boring, like let's see what else there is. That I know even myself when I was younger, like missed out on so much because I was just like, oh, where can I go to a cool night? And then once you kind of actually start looking into what's in Glasgow, like there's so much more there than like that just does get taken for granted quite a lot of the time.
Like at the Walking Skank nights, there's nights that you can go down, they've got a full like brass band like in the club, just like battering out tunes, and it gets to the point where you're like sometimes it can be so busy to the point where you're standing at the back and you're like, is that live or what? And then you go up to the front and there's like folk with like trumpets and that, and you're just like, this is amazing, and this is in a nightclub, like where else are you going to get that? And why is nobody like, oh my god, like this is happening, this is like, why are we not talking about it?
No one's really taking the time to talk about it to other people and get other people down.
And that's what we're wanting to be, like we want Bijou and Sweatbox to be this central hub where people know that that's actually going on and that that's covered and that it's actually really, really cool. And
so if people want to get like involved as like a writer, or even if they're just going to one of the club nights and they want to let you guys know or whatever like that, how can that happen? How do people get involved?
If they drop us a message on the Facebook page or on one of the emails which is on the Facebook page, then we're wanting to get as many people involved in it as possible, because like for me, like I've came from a kind of journalism background, and all the different projects I've worked on, like the best ones are when there's a really big team working on it and a really kind of variety of people like that are into different things, and that's kind of what makes the best websites, because you get the best varied content, which is kind of what we're aiming to do.
Yeah, like you can just like, if you just like Facebook ads like we'll obviously tell you if you're along the right lines, but we're never really gonna be like, no.
Yeah.
Because obviously we are trying to open it up to culture, and like everybody's interests are what something that we want to take into consideration. So we're trying to keep it as open as possible, and we want it to be as accessible as possible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're trying to keep the whole website just like super positive in the sense that we're like, yes, go Glasgow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, go music, so we're like, everything's gonna, you know what I mean? Go music!
Yeah, we're not really going to review anything that we think is going to be shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
we're not
So, I mean,
trying
it's,
to
like,
be
kind of-
picky.
Oh yeah, I went here and it was terrible, don't
Yeah,
go.
like we're not
Yeah.
trying to be
Yeah.
like that, like we're trying to be super kind of,
Touch wood, that doesn't happen, but if it
Yeah.
was, then we probably just wouldn't.
we wouldn't cover
Yeah.
it. Like, we're not
We'd
trying
just
to
leave
be
it.
like pure nippy or like
Like
pick out like what's like good and what's not. It's always
Mhm.
gonna be like everything's like good and this is what like you should be going to, or
Yeah.
what, if you like this type of thing you should head down here type of thing.
Yeah. Cool, sounds good. And you guys have got a website coming up on the 19th, I think I saw that on Facebook, yeah.
It's the 19th of March.
So what kind of stuff have you guys got like coming up just now?
So we're kind of just planning to spend the summer just going away for like weekends, or like just going away to different cities for like a few
Yeah.
days, just getting like cheap buses down to somewhere that's got a good music scene and just seeing
Yeah.
what we find.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be heading to
Yeah.
Barcelona in August, and you'll definitely be in Croatia.
Yeah, we're in Croatia for Outlook Festival, maybe Dimensions. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I might go to that. We'll see.
So-
I want to.
yeah.
We'll see.
Thanks for coming down and talking to us.
It's all good.
thank you.